have your attention, please? It's time for the final countdown. The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
Hey, welcome everybody to this edition of Doc's Taking on the Mormish. I'm your host, Doc. The clinic is open, your doc is in, and you're about to get your meds. Let's get this show on the road. Hello, everybody, and welcome again to this edition of Doc's Taking on the Mormish. You are in the clinic, and we have a special edition. We are going to talk about, as this always is one of the pinnacle things we like to see, or we always hear, that they think the United States is a corporation, when we all know that it is not a corporation. It is just one of the many ways that they try to get one over or to attempt their foolish ways. We're going to go ahead here, and as you can see, this is our neat little background. The U.S. document says the United States is not a country, it's a corporation. But again, that is not true. That is a myth. That is due to their very poor understanding of what this country actually is. So here we are. We are going to talk about this. I feel that it is a must. So we need to talk about this a little bit more. And we hear it a lot. We hear it from the Mopes. We hear it from the SovCits, that the United States of America is a corporation. It's a service corporation. But here we go. Now we're going to break down right into this. That the first thing is, despite the misconception, the United States is not a corporation. This can be confirmed by its lack of incorporating acts, its sovereign immunity, and past court cases, among other things. But we explain the District of Columbia Organic Act of 1871, the act which many people believe to have turned the United States of America into a global corporation at the hands of international bankers. We know that is not true. That, again, is just this made-up fallacy that we see here from the SovCits and the Mopes. And again, they feel that if they say this and this, they say it enough, it'll come true, but it's not. It is not the truth. We're also going to take a look at U.S. Code 28, Part 4, Chapter 176, Subchapter A, 3002, 28 U.S. Code 3002, which has a similar claims made about it, and also didn't turn America into a corporation. And we're going to touch on a few other misconceptions. The important thing to get here is that regions of the United States may or may not be organized and incorporated. Cities, towns, territories, or other are often incorporated in the United States. That doesn't mean they are corporations. It means they are incorporated within the United States. Okay. Just something to think about too is people often point to companies registered under the name like the United States Corporation Company and the United States Inc. as proof of the country the United States is a corporation. However, be we talking about the United States Corporation Company of 1925 or other entities, the answer is generally the same. That is, the United States, whatever term you want to put in, styles, anyways, include the United States, is a popular name for companies. There are actually many companies registered under the name United States. For example, Delaware and Florida. They have, although there are many companies named the United States, whatever you want to put in there, term, corporation, company, whatever, none are actually the United States of America, the country we live in. So that's part of the problem is we look at this, and again, the SovCits and the Mopes, that's their thing. Oh, it's a service corporation. Oh, it's a service corporation. No, it's not. And it's the reason why you believe that is because you probably heard it from somebody who actually said that to you. They believed it, but they didn't understand what they read. And again, the misconceptions. And then you get a lot of people out there who just keep saying, oh yeah, it's a corporation. It's a corporation. It's not a country. The Vatican's running it. The judges and lawyers are agents of the British Crown. Just more of the BS. For those, just to give you a synopsis of 28 U.S. Code 3002 says the United States, it means all corporations owned by the United States, any federal corporation, not that the United States is itself a corporation. More specifically, and to use the exact wording of the definition, it means any federal corporation, agency, department, or instrument of the United States. Further, that definition doesn't provide a legal definition for the United States for all time and in every case. It simply defines it that way for the specific chapter of the Federal Debt Collection, Chapter 176. Likewise, the Organic Acts give governance rights to DC. They do not create another United States. All states and organized territories can self-govern despite being beholden to the federal government. Simply put, there is only one United States, and all of the mentioned are simply discussing parts of the one and only United States. The United States, just to give you an idea, consists of 50 states, one federal district, which is D.C., one incorporated territory, and 15 unincorporated territories. Entities created by executive, legislative, and judicial branches can also be considered a part of the United States regarding issues like sovereign immunity and being beholden to the central government. This means, for example, federal corporations, agencies, departments, etc. of the United States are a part of the United States, which can be important to clarify, for example, in rules, regulations, and laws that are discussing the powers and rights of those entities. We must say in passing that the argument that the United States may be treated as a corporation organized under its own laws, that is under the Constitution, as the fundamental law, seems so strained as not to merit serious consideration. United States Supreme Court, United States versus Cooper Corporation, 1941, number 484, argued March 6, 1941, decided March 31st, 1941. And then we go in here, the myth, and I'm going to tell you this document that I have is actually several different sites all put together that have disproven this myth that SovCits and Mopes like to put out there. The reason that the page exists is because of this addressing this persistent myth that the United States is a corporation. Some say the United States of America is different from the United States, quote unquote, corporation, and that the United States was formed in 1871 and controls only the District of Columbia and the territories it purchased or acquired: Puerto Rico, Guam, Virgin Islands. This is not correct. Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Virgin Islands are unincorporated and organized territories of the United States. The one and only United States. The District of Columbia is an incorporated and organized district under the direct control of Congress. Since the passage of the Organic Acts, it was purposely organized this way to avoid state-level power grabs, not to ensure some banking conspiracy, as it is sometimes insinuated. The lack of statehood for the capital is to be found in the Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17 of the document reads, "The Congress shall have power to exercise exclusive legislation in all cases whatsoever over such district, not exceeding 10 miles square, as may be concession of particular states, and the acceptance of Congress become the seat of government for the United States." That's why DC is not a state. Columbia is a poetically named, historically used to reference the United States. That is the reference to Christopher Columbus. The de facto unofficial national anthem used to be Hail Columbia. So it's fake. It never was a anthem for our country. The Incorporation Doctrine refers to the idea that the states are beholden to the Bill of Rights. This is a concept used in the gun debate. It doesn't apply here. Organizing an incorporation in the United States, the one thing you need to look at is, in business law, a corporation is that which is incorporated as a company or group of people authorized to act as a single entity, legally a person, and recognized as such in law. For regions within the United States, it works much the same way. Regarding a city, town, or territory, being incorporated means being part of the United States proper, aka being incorporated into the United States, a legal part of the U.S. in terms of rights, not only property of the U.S. Being organized means having an organized government authorized by the Organic Act passed by the Congress, the U.S. Congress. This usually consists of a territorial legislature, territorial governor, and a basic judicial system. Being organized means being able to self-govern, even in the case of an organized, unincorporated territory, which is owned by the United States, but can govern itself. So we look at states, they do that. We look at cities, they have town halls, they have counties have their own courts, they have county commissioners, they have, a whole state has a governor and their own court system, their own Supreme Court system. So again, that's what it means by being incorporated and organized. You're incorporating into the United States of America. You're becoming part of the United States of America. And being organized means that group of people, that territory, that city, town, county has organized together and they can self-govern. They don't need Big Brother to help or to govern them for them. They're not governed by a king or a queen or a monarch or anything. They're governed by their mayors and such that oversee that. So that's what that means. It says a territory may be neither incorporated or organized like the American Samoa. It may be unincorporated and organized like Puerto Rico, incorporated and unorganized like Palomar Atoll, or incorporated and organized like the District of Columbia, D.C. Is organized and operates under Article 1 of the U.S. Constitution and District of Columbia Home Rule Act, and is incorporated by its organic acts. Meanwhile, being admitted into the Union as a state by Congress is the only way for a region to become an official state of the United States. So it takes an act of Congress to turn a territory into a state. They all have to vote on it and they have to agree. And then, are any states corporations? Neither the United States nor its 50 states are corporations. All are incorporated into the Union by an act of Congress and get their power from the federal constitution. State constitutions govern the individual states. Only entities incorporated into the U.S. and its states can enjoy sovereign immunity. Only official states enjoy voting rights. That's why Puerto Rico and D.C. have no official voting rights in Congress. The United States, quote-unquote, corporation, if it did exist, would have fewer rights and less sovereignty than a state. Likewise, if the U.S. were a corporation, it would not have sovereign immunity unless it was otherwise owned by the United States federal government itself. So that kind of destroys their argument that these MOOPs have. In the absence of an organic law, a territory is classified as unorganized. In the absence of being incorporated into the United States, a territory is unincorporated. This is why it was vital to pass the Organic Acts, including the Organic Act of 1871, which organized and incorporated D.C., the seat of the government of the United States. The United States, again, includes 50 states, one federal district, and many territories. With different statutes, those entitled, as well as all executive, legislative, and judicial entities on the federal and state level, are beholden to the central federal government. In some cases, this is despite them having their own charters and constitutions and having their own powers. There are a few exceptions, like the Federal Reserve, which is an independent entity within government. Still, even when there are exceptions, all the entities are beholden to the federal government, and thus to Congress as well. Congress is comprised of state-based elected officials who represent we the people, and those are beholden to the people. To the extent this is also true for the Treasury. And no U.S. Code Title 12, Chapter 3, Subsection 11, Subchapter 11, Subsection 411, 12 U.S. Code 411, issuance to reserve banks, nature of obligation, redemption doesn't imply otherwise as insinuated. The states and commonwealths of the United States are sovereign, as are local governments, as are our citizens, as is the federal government. Even unincorporated territories like Puerto Rico have some degree of sovereignty, but it doesn't mean the same thing for each entity. Firstly, every entity is beholden to the federal government. Meanwhile, the federal government, state governments, and local governments all enjoy sovereignty regarding governance and sovereign immunity regarding being sued. Under U.S. law, although the degree of immunity differs by the entity, this may extend to entities doing contract work for the state. See Advanced Software Design versus Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis. But it doesn't apply to entities that are unincorporated into the United States. Puerto Rico does not have the same sovereignty the states do. See political status of Puerto Rico. They have a discussion about that, and was important for DC to not be unincorporated and unorganized district. In terms of the electoral system and rights, sovereignty refers to the fact that each of our 320 million citizens is one 320 millionth sovereign, and each has human rights and voting rights as ensured by the federal constitution and state constitutions, although power is delegated in the republic. See sovereign immunity in the United States and compare it to popular sovereignty for a better understanding of how this complex philosophical concept and legal concept is often misused in general debate. So, why do people think that the United States is a corporation? In 1871, Congress incorporated the District of Columbia, and the wording of the act, along with a few bits of supposed evidence featured below, caused some to speculate that the United States has become a corporation controlled by international banks. The simplest rebuttal to this, aside from understanding how things work as presented above, is pointing out that the acts incorporated and organized DC, not the United States DC, and quote unquote, the United States are not the same entity anymore than Nashville. Nashville is the same as Tennessee. So otherwise, there's some other articles you can look at that are good, that focus on the truth patriotically. Like the following article are misleading. The United States isn't a country; it's a corporation. Articles like this complex but accurate article, and in 2013, which again was incorrect. So I wanted to do this video because I feel this is something that is talked about a lot. We hear it in all the SovCits and Moop videos that the United States is a corporation and it has no jurisdiction and no power. And basically what has happened is these Moops and SovCit idiots have been fed this constant line of BS. And they believe this. They believe that the United States is not that it is a corporation because they've read the Organic Acts wrong. They've read how DC was formed and how it has no voting rights and how how only DC within the United States is not a state. It has no voting rights. It's incorporated and organized because that is our seat of government. And they didn't want a power grab to happen there with voters. So then this is why this took place, is because of this. And so I felt this was necessary to put this information out there, and there's so much out there. The other one I'm going to talk about tomorrow is there's a good one out there that I think makes a lot of sense, talking about jurisdiction in the courts and how Moops and SovCits like to do that, and how they try to say, well, I'm challenging jurisdiction and it's the burden of the court. Well, it's not the burden of the court to prove jurisdiction because they already have jurisdiction. You're in the court. So, the states grant those courts their authority, or the county or the city grant the authority to that court. That's because they're, how they're organized and the sovereign immunity they have and the governance they have due to the Constitution and other laws and regulations, not because they just decided, well, I have jurisdiction. There are laws that regulate that. So again, to hear them talk about that, we're gonna slowly crush these stupid ideologies by the Moops and SovCits, and that's the sad part, is they just keep going and going and going and going about it, and it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Again, anybody that took any time to actually study history, to actually read these acts, these court cases and other things dealing with the sovereignty of the United States, that it isn't a corporation, that it doesn't belong and controlled by any other country or by big corporations. Again, it's enough that if you don't take the time, it gets confusing. But we look at this and we're like, oh, hey, look, what you're saying makes no sense. You're absolutely right. It's the challenger's burden to prove lack of jurisdiction. That's why they always try to throw it on the judge. But that's for another video. We have that coming up tomorrow. So this is just one of the many topics we're going to cover. We're going to start examining some of the court cases regarding around that. We're going to look at the Organics Act as well. We're going to look at the incorporation of DC. So we're going to get into that a little better. And again, if any Moops or SovCits see this and just pay attention. The video will pop up on the channel and you are more than welcome. But this right here that we see, that is not truth. That is lie. That's exactly what this is. It holds no bearing. It's not true. We are not a corporation. We are a sovereign country. And each state is sovereign within itself. So again, this was a quick video, 20 minutes. I wanted to get up because starting here shortly, this evening, actually, in about an hour and a half, we have another video coming out that we're going to do. Mr. Brandon Killeran has blessed us with some more stuff to laugh at, our files, Zanesville files. I'm going to show you the contracts he's talking about. I actually have these when I did my information case request from the city of Zanesville. There's his videos, listening to him, he even mentions that he was starved for several days in a jail cell, which I do not believe one bit. I've reached out to both the administrator of the Zanesville Police Department, the jail they have there, and the county jail, and everything he stated was a lie. Again, very soft sit. The playbook is there. You can listen, you can hear it as he talks. But we have that coming up this evening, so I got to do some prep for that. So that'll be around 11:30. Like I said, I did move some videos around, so that way I could catch up a little bit, because I do apologize. With the new job, I have not had the time to get new videos out. So we have this one. Another one will be hitting around 11:30, so please stay tuned for that. Again, share, like, subscribe. Give me a thumbs up if you think. Post your comments. Let me know your opinion on this. I always come back and check the comments in my videos and reply back to people, because I think it's important that you guys are the fans for my channel, and I appreciate that. So again, this is Doc for the clinic. We'll be back. We're going to take a short break, and we'll see you guys real soon. Doc's out. Be safe.